Hey, Cassidy, can you hear me? Or Alyssa? Okay. If you're done with the live stream, I need you to make me the host, and then I'll make the TPA the co-host. It doesn't look like you two are co-hosts, but I can't change that until I'm the host. I need you to do one other thing. On the main computer, you'll see that it says there's closed captioning available on the bottom bar. Make sure it's showing where the CC is, that it's hiding the subtitle. That way it's not rolling across the screen.
Hey Margie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yay. Okay. We have mics out.
Okay. Does my sound okay? I'm further away from my monitor. So.
You sound fine. It's hard with the music in the background, but you're good.
Okay.
I think Kelsey's getting tablets. I don't know how many people who RSVP'd saying they were going to come, but we are going to need 10 cards. I don't know where they are.
If it's just Palmtrans stuff, I think you're fine without them.
Well,
and if
so
I think
she said that David was planning on coming, and I don't know if that's since changed. So I think we're still planning on him to come in person.
Okay. Robin should have the tent cards.
Okay.
And it's up to you if you want to use them or not. If it's just David, you can just tell him where to sit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely set up for Palmtran with like the mics and the tablets, but like I said, I don't know who else is coming. So.
Okay, Robin should have all the tent cards. I think she even made one for Sheely in case she showed up in person.
Okay. Yeah, she's grabbing them now, and I'm gonna start logging people in the tablets, or at least the 3 people from Palmtran. So.
Okay.
Unless like someone shows up from like a partner agency, but I don't think we'll have that. We'll just have to send a PDF copy anyways.
Did you turn up the music?
No, we can still hear it. You can't.
That's weird. I lost my sound for Zoom.
No,
Alyssa, just kidding, you're right. Alyssa's. Alyssa, can you promote me?
I can hear you guys, just so you know.
I have
it's so you can feel like you're included, but we'll mute so you don't hear us in case someone logs on.
Okay. Do you want me to promote people for you?
Oh, I'm promoting. We're good.
Okay.
Riley.
Hi, Robin. This is Margie at the TPA. Are you calling in from your cell phone?
Hi, I'm calling in from the computer phone.
Okay. I'm going to rename you in our system, but I wasn't sure if you were calling on from your phone because I can hear the background noise. So I'm just going to mute you on our end unless you're able
Okay.
to mute on your phone.
Yeah, I thought it was muted. Okay, let me mute.
Okay. Good morning, Mayor Grant. We have a few members that are, I'm sorry, good afternoon. I'm still stuck in the morning. We have a few members still joining, but we should be able to start on time.
Okay. Do we have a quorum? Or do we plan on
It looks
having a
like it.
quorum? Okay,
Yes.
wonderful.
Hi, I have a 561 number calling in. I wanted to make sure it wasn't one of our LCB members. You may be prompted on your phone to dial *6, I believe, to unmute.
Is the meeting started?
Oh, okay.
It's
No,
Robert.
Robert. Okay, Robert. No, it hasn't started yet.
Okay.
We're
'cause I
still
don't-
getting some members connected.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you could hear me or not. Okay,
Yes, now I can hear you.
thank you.
Again, if you're calling in from the 561-246 number, I just need to confirm whether you're an LCB member. On your phone, you should be able to hit *6 and it will allow you to unmute. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Thanks, Robert. The 561-246 number, it shows that you're unmuted. I just wanted to confirm whether you were an LCB member.
Here we are.
Okay, so since I haven't been able to hear you, I'm going to disable
What
your
phone number?
talking.
Excuse me? Sorry.
Yes, I can
What phone
hear you
number
now.
again?
It's the one you're calling from. May I ask who this is?
Yeah. Vanessa Palomino.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. I'm gonna
Thank you.
permit you to talk, and then you just need to mute and unmute. I'm assuming you're calling from a cell phone that you can easily mute and unmute from.
Yes, my work phone.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll just leave it
Okay.
open, and then you can mute and unmute on your end.
Okay. Thank you.
It is 2:01. Margie, do we have enough for a quorum to begin?
Yes, Mayor, you can go ahead and get started.
All right. And so we're recording. Good afternoon. This is Stephen Grant, Chair of the Palm Beach County Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. I'd like to call to order the August 25th, 2021 meeting. Pursuant to the TPA's Emergency Order 2021-01, the Palm Beach TPA is conducting this meeting virtually using the Zoom webinar platform. Instructions to join the virtual meeting as well as contact information for assistance are provided in the published meeting agenda. I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Zoom webinar.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, one nation under God. I'm sorry.
One nation under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Margie.
You're welcome.
Had a long mediation this morning. May I have a roll call, please?
I've made that mistake too.
Yes, so before I call the roll, I want to remind the members present in person that there's a button on the base of your microphone. When it's red, it means it's on, so you can go ahead and unmute. And then members present virtually, please remember to unmute yourselves. My staff will also assist you, and then they will also mute you after the fact if we're picking up background noise. And then alternates, please state your name if you're attending on behalf of an LCB representative. Millory Sanat.
Yeah.
Vanessa Palomino.
Here.
Wendang.
Present.
Takesha Saffel.
Present.
Elisa Kramer.
Were you able to hear me, Margie?
No, but I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, I'm here.
Thank you. And then Maria Hernandez did note that she has retired. So Marilisa Amador.
I'm here.
Marie Dorsman.
Paula Scott here on her behalf.
Angela Choice. Angela Choice. Jeannie Chrisman.
I'm here.
Robin Manuel.
Here.
Merlene Ramnow.
I'm here. Thank you.
Laura Schultz is absent.
Here.
Oh, you're here, Laura. Oh, I'm sorry. You were able to join us. I had that you were absent. Thank you. The representative for children at risk is vacant, so they will be marked as absent. Robert Goodman,
Here.
Angie Morlock. Don't see that in my list. I'm going to call it again. Angie Morlock. Okay. Elsa DeGoy. Again, I don't see her in my list, so I'll mark her as absent for now. David Rafidas,
Present.
Stephen Grant.
Present.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, may I have a motion to approve?
I motion we approve the agenda as is.
I'll second it.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to minutes. May I have a motion to, are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed state so by saying nay. Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. General public comments. As a reminder, there are 3 ways to provide public comment for this meeting. Written comments may be submitted online at the website provided in the agenda. Verbal comments may be made by a virtual attendee using the raise hand feature in the Zoom platform. Verbal and written comments may be provided by an in-person attendee submitting a comment card available at the welcome table. Staff, has any general comments been received?
No, Mr. Chair. I do want to note for the record that Elsa DeGoy has joined us on the phone, and we're just going to permit her to talk.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to, and is there anybody in the audience there at the TPA wishing to speak? Is there anyone in attendance at the meeting?
No, there are no members of the public here, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. Comments from the chair and member comments. At this time, I want to invite board member comments. Please call the roll for member comments. And if you'd like to make comments towards the end, we also give you that ability too.
Okay, so Mallory,
No comment.
Vanessa.
No
Len?
comment.
Margie, instead of asking everybody for the roll call this
Sure.
time, I'll ask, does anybody want to make comments now?
I would like to.
Yes, Mr. Goodman.
I know we get a list of who's on the on our council, our LCB meetings, but can we get a contact list with the phone numbers of contact phone numbers for people that are on our board? Is that possible?
Mr. Chair, if I may answer that, we can provide that to you, Robert, but I do want to preface it that members are the LCB are held under the sunshine laws, that they are not able to discuss items that will come before the board outside of a publicly noticed meeting.
Yeah, I just
So
think,
I can have my staff provide that to you. But again, if there's an item that's coming before the LCB,
sure.
it'd be better if you make your request during public comments and you have it, I'm sorry, member comments, and you have a discussion in the sunshine.
Okay, thank you.
Would you still like that list?
Yes, please.
Okay, we will have a staff member provide that to you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further comments by the board, my comments that I'd like to make, this past summer, I was able to go to Boston with my daughter in a stroller. And so I definitely have a new understanding of what it means to, be transportation disadvantaged, not being able to take stairs. It's something where, the Google Maps, had so many times for us to take stairs, and that consisted of me carrying her in her stroller up and down those stairs to get to the different platforms. So, this is something that, I've learned. And so it's imperative that I think we understand for our drivers, the point of drop off and pick up, so that it is the shortest distance for our commuters to go to their location and get from their location. In addition, my daughter's swim lesson starts at 4, so I may be leaving a little bit early. And so those are my comments. Seeing no further comments, we'll go on to our local coordinating board liaison report. And I invite Kelsey to review, or Robin.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. For the record, my name is Kelsey Peterson. I am the LCB liaison. So first off, the FPTA CTD Annual Conference and Expo is taking place on October 24th to 27th in Daytona Beach, Florida. Registration is currently open, and regular registration will stay open until October 1st. And for more information and to register, you can visit floridatransit.org/annual-conference. During the conference, the CTD will also be holding a business meeting. So that'll be taking place on October 25th, also in Daytona Beach. And for more information, you can visit ctd.fdot.gov/CTD calendar. Exciting news, Brightline has announced that they are planning to resume their high-speed rail service in November of this year. They haven't, as far as I know, yet announced an exact date, but if you're interested in staying updated on that, you can go visit their website at gobrightline.com. The LCB currently has a vacancy for a representative for children at risk. For a little context on that, we, from my understanding, previously had the Department of Children and Family Services serving in that role, but then the CTD added that department to our membership roster. So we need to make sure that we fill both of those positions. So if you know of anyone who might be a good fit for that role, you can have them contact me at kpeterson@palmbeachtpa.org. I'll also be sending out a flyer after this meeting to you all, so you can share that with your networks. And then last, as you all know, we like to encourage LCB members to provide a 5-minute presentation on how their agency and everyday work relates to the transportation disadvantaged. So if any of you all are interested in presenting at a future LCB meeting, you can contact me again at kpeterson@palmbeachtpa.org, or if not, I will reach out and ask for volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Our next item is action items. Motion to adopt the fiscal year 2022 LCB bylaws.
Are there any changes from previous?
Zoom webinar.
Yes, I think that was Robert. I'm going to give just a brief presentation going over those changes. So the bylaws are something that we're required to review and adopt annually. So as I said, I'm just going to do a brief presentation on those updates. So first, the bylaws are in place to guide the proper functioning of TD services coordination. They provide procedures and policies for fulfilling the requirements laid out in the Florida statutes and administrative code. And they set forth requirements for TD services and LCB operations. So this year, the only 2 major updates were that we updated the dates, of course, to be consistent with the current fiscal year. And those are shown in the red track changes in the backup. And then we also updated the format to align more with our TPA operating procedures and to improve readability. So you might notice that it looks a little different. The content is the same. We've just reorganized it, and hopefully that'll make it easier to read. And those are the only major updates. There's maybe a few other minor spelling updates in there, but those are the only big updates that I have for you all. Thank you.
And Margie, do we need a roll call?
In order for me to take proper notes, since everyone is virtual, it is helpful for me if we have a roll call. It's up to you if you want to open it for discussion before or after you take a motion. But just for the record, I do not have any public comments on this item.
Thank you very much. Does anyone from the board have any comments or questions on the bylaws for 2022? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt?
Move that we adopt.
This is Ginny Chrisman, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. We have a first and second.
So just so everyone's clear, the motion on the floor is to recommend adoption. Motion to adopt the fiscal year 22 LCB bylaws as presented. I had a motion by Robert Goodman and a second by Jeannie Crispin. So members that are present virtually, please remember to unmute. And again, my staff will assist you. And then if you are calling in on the phone, you will have to hit *6 in order to unmute if you're not unmuted on your personal phone. So Mallory Sanat,
Yes.
Vanessa Palomino.
Here.
Wen Dang. Wen, if you're in person, if you can hit the microphone.
Yes.
Thank you. Takesha Saffel,
Yes.
Elisa Kramer,
Yes.
Marilisa Amador,
Yes.
Paula Scott,
Yes.
Angela Choice, I'm sorry,
I got
Angela
it.
Choi.
I
Oh, you got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Jeannie Chrisman,
Yes.
Robin Manuel,
Yes.
Marlene Ramnon,
Yes.
Laura Schultz.
Yes.
The representative for children at risk is vacant, so they will be marked as absent. Robert Goodman,
Yes.
Angie Morlock should be marked as absent. Elsa DeGoy,
Yes.
David Rafaitis.
Present, yes.
Thank you. Stephen Grant.
Yes.
It passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Margie. Our next is the fiscal 2022 grievance procedures. Kelsey will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. Again, for the record, my name is Kelsey Peterson, LCB liaison. Similar to the LCB bylaws, we're required to review and update our grievance procedures annually. So I just have a brief presentation for you all on those updates. So first, the purpose of the grievance procedures is that they're used to process and investigate any CTC complaints from agencies or users. And as I said, we update these annually. So this year, again, like the bylaws, we updated the dates to be consistent with the current fiscal year. We also added in language to the definition of MPO just to clarify the TPA's role as the MPO in Palm Beach County. And then we also made an update to the appointment section. Previously, I had stated that members will be appointed to the grievance subcommittee by the chair. But my understanding is that our actual practice was for the LCB to make the appointment of the grievance subcommittee. So we just changed this language to align with our actual current practice. And so on that note, we are required to appoint a grievance subcommittee with a minimum of 3 LCB voting members. Again, the point of the grievance subcommittee is to process any formal or unresolved grievances against the CTC. From what I understand, it is relatively rare for complaints to reach that level. So I don't think this is a particularly heavy workload for any of those who volunteer on the subcommittee. But as I said, we are looking for 3 LCB volunteers, and this is my last slide, so I will open it up for anyone who wants to volunteer.
I'd like to volunteer for that. It's Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Yes, for
This is Ginny Chrisman, I'll volunteer.
This is Takesha. I would volunteer.
Thank you all.
All right. So is there any comments, for Margie?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. Would anyone like to discuss the grievance procedures? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Margie, you got those individuals?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no further discussion, may I have a roll call, please?
So again, if you can unmute on your end, and the motion on the floor is to recommend adoption of the fiscal year 22 grievance procedures as presented. And then our subcommittee would be made up of Robert Goodman, Jeannie Chrisman, and Takesha Saffold. So Mallory Sanat,
Yes.
Vanessa Palomino,
Yes.
Wen Dang,
Yes.
Takesha Saffold,
Yes.
Elisa Kramer,
Yes.
Mara Lisa Amador,
Yes.
Paula Scott,
Yes.
Angela Choice, Angela Choice, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing you, Angela, on my side or hearing you. Oh, I got your thumbs up. Thank you. Jeannie Chrisman,
Yes.
Robin Manuel,
Yes.
Marlene Ramnon,
Yes.
Laura Schultz,
Yes.
representative for Children at Risk is vacant, so they'll be marked as absent. Robert Goodman,
Yes.
Angie Morlock, she'll be marked as absent. Elsa DeCoy,
Yes.
David Rufaitis,
Yes.
Stephen Grant.
Yes.
It passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Our next item is a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 transportation disadvantage trip rates. I'll invite Jeremy Baker to present this item.
So thank you, Mr. Chair, for that. Jeremy Baker, Director of Administrative Services for PalmTran. This was an item that was originally brought to the board back in February. The rates were approved. When they were submitted to the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged, during their review, they felt that the rates were too high and asked us to go back and review the information in the rate model.
Give me a check, $18.
The change that we made was in the estimated number of trips that we had for the year. So you'll see at the notes in the bottom, the rates are based on our net expenses, which are gross expenses less revenues, divided by the number of trips. Our expenses did not change from the net amount of $37,513,904, but our estimated trips did increase from our estimate of 505 to a revised number of trips of 780 that we're anticipating for this next year. Just mathematically, that did cause the rate to go down. So at the top are the just showing you what the different rates are. Currently, the rate that we're being reimbursed is $33.11 for ambulatory trips and $56.79 for wheelchair. What was approved previously was the numbers in the approved column. The amounts that we're asking now to be approved are the amounts in the revised column. The $49.89 and the $85.53. The difference between the two sets of numbers, these are pulled out of the rate model, and they do calculate it as a rate without a subsidy, and that's our external funding from the grant and our fare box revenues, and then the rates with the subsidies, and that's the difference between those two sets of numbers. If there's any questions, be happy to answer them to the best of my abilities.
All right, I'll invite the public or any board members to have any comments at this time. Margie, are there any public comments?
No, Mr. Chair.
And
And I
so,
don't, I don't see any hands raised for board member comments either.
Okay. And so this year we're having a reduction from last year. Is that correct?
This is actually an increase. So what happened in 2020 is that we used the approved rate for 2019 and just continued with it.
Okay.
When we did our rate model this year, at the time, obviously, that we did this back in January, February, we had a much more pessimistic view of how many trips we were going to provide during this year because of COVID. Now that we're a little bit further along, we can see the growth in our trips. So we're feeling more confident with the higher number of trips. Important point in all of this is none of these changes to the rates change the amount of the grant that we're going to receive. The only difference might be how much faster we're able to recover those grant dollars in a month. But even to that end, it doesn't have an impact on the number of trips we're going to provide. We still don't have limitations on that. Whatever exceeds the amount of funding from the TD is covered by the Board of County Commissioners at this point.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, further discussion? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the trip rates?
So moved.
Jeannie Chrisman, I'll move to approve the trip rates.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, thank you.
I had a motion by Jeannie and a second by Laura.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, please roll the call. Please call the roll.
Mallory Sanat,
Yes.
Vanessa Palomino,
Here.
Wen Dang,
Yes.
Takesha Sapple,
Yes.
Elisa Kramer,
Yes.
Mara Lisa Amador,
Yes.
Paula Scott,
Yes.
Angela Choice,
We got a thumbs up.
thank you. Jeannie Chrisman,
Yes.
Robin Manuel,
Yes.
Marlene Ramnon,
Yes.
Laura Schultz.
Yes.
Representative for Children at Risk is vacant, so they will be marked as absent. Robert Goodman. I'll give Robert a minute to unmute on his end. Angie Morlock. I believe she is still absent, so I'll mark her as absent from the voting. Elsa DeGoy,
Yes.
David Rufides,
Yes.
Robert Goodman,
Robert, you're muted. You'd have to unmute.
Zoom webinar.
there we go.
Now, yes.
Yes, thank you, Robert. And then Stephen Grant.
Yes,
It passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Moving forward to informational items, LCB member training.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. Again, just for the record, my name is Kelsey Peterson. Every year we complete a member training just for the benefit of our newer members and a refresher for our members who have been on the board for a while. So in this presentation, I'm going to start by talking about the TD program more generally, and then I'll get into more of an overview about the LCB, what the duties are, and some more administrative items. So starting with the TD program, I want to start again with the definition of transportation disadvantaged, or TD. Describes those persons who, because of physical or mental disability, income status, or age, are unable to transport themselves or to purchase transportation. And this is a definition, this is a term that's actually defined in the Florida statutes. The Florida statutes also includes children at risk in the TD population. So the Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged, or CTD, is an independent state agency that was created in order to coordinate transportation services for the TD, or transportation disadvantaged population. So I'm showing an org chart on the screen now, and I have the CTD highlighted just so you all can see the relationships between these different organizations. And so this is showing that the CTD is a state organization and it's responsible for designating the designated official planning agency. So the designated official planning agency, or the DOPA, is the official body that again is designated by the CTD in order to fulfill the functions of transportation disadvantage planning within a designated area. So in Palm Beach County, the DOPA is the Palm Beach TPA. And the key word here is planning. So the DOPA isn't the one actually providing the transportation services. We focus on planning. And so I have the DOPA highlighted here. It shows that the DOPA receives the TD planning grant in order to administer the LCB. And we also designate a CTC every 5 years. So the CTC, or the Community Transportation Coordinator, is the transportation entity that ensures that coordinated transportation services are provided for the TD population. So this is the organization that is actually providing those transportation services. And in Palm Beach County, our CTC is PalmTran. So you have PalmTran highlighted here on the org chart, showing that they are assigned by the Board of County Commissioners to administer the TD program. And then, of course, we have the Local Coordinating Board, or the LCB, which is an advisory board established in the Florida statutes to advise the CTD and CTC about local TD concerns and issues. And so you can see it highlighted here on the org chart that it is responsible for advising and overseeing the CTC and then reporting back to the CTD. So I know you all are more familiar than most, but there are a lot of acronyms. So I just wanted to kind of summarize it here. Again, the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged, or CTD, is responsible for coordinating TD services throughout the state of Florida. The Designated Official Planning Agency, or DOPA, which is the Palm Beach TPA here, assists the CTD with planning at that more local level. The Community Transportation Coordinator, or the CTC, which is PalmTran here, is responsible for coordinating and providing TD services in Palm Beach County. And then the Local Coordinating Board, or LCB, identifies local service TD service needs and advises the CTC. Okay, so now I'm going to get more into an overview of the LCB. Again, the LCB is an advisory body for a designated service area with appointed representatives whose purpose is to provide assistance to the CTC relative to coordination of transportation services. And so our membership is dictated by the CTD. We have a range of different stakeholders who are part of the LCB that represent the interest of different members of the TD population. So in addition to our chair, we have representatives for the disabled, for the elderly, those who are users of the system, Veterans Affairs, those in the school system, healthcare, again, all different sorts of community members and agencies that represent the interests of the TD population. And so I'll get into now into the duties of the LCB. So as you all know, we have our quarterly meetings. Attending those quarterly meetings is one of the primary duties of LCB members. Annually, as we just did, we review and adopt the bylaws and grievance procedures and appoint a grievance subcommittee. Annually, we also review and approve the annual expenditure report and the annual operating report, which are reports on the expenditures and operations of the CTC. Annually, we also review and approve the TD service plan, or a TDSP, and perform a CTC evaluation. And I'm going to touch on those more in just a moment. And then annually, we also appoint a vice chair. So I'm going to go into a little more detail about the TDSP and CTC evaluation, since these are two of our bigger items that we do every year. The Transportation Disadvantage Service Plan, or the TDSP, outlines TD services and partners in Palm Beach County. is a planning document that does that. We do an annual minor update every year and then a major update every 5 years. And this year is actually a major update year. So I'll be working closely with PalmTrans staff to do our major update on the TDSP. And then we'll present that to you all at our next meeting in November for you to review and approve. And then the CTC evaluation, I know you all are familiar with because we just completed that not too long ago. Again, every year the LCB conducts an annual evaluation of the CTC's performance. The criteria is dictated by the CTD, and it evaluates the operations and performance of the CTC, and as well as gives us the chance to actually talk to riders through surveys. All right, so I'm going to finish up with some more administrative items about the LCB. First, as a reminder, there's an automatic rescission of membership for a lack of attendance, with lack of attendance being defined as 3 consecutive unexcused absences. So to avoid that, members just need to notify us of a TPA staff member of their absence at least 1 business day prior to a meeting, and then the absence will be excused. And then as a reminder for voting, no member of the board is able to abstain from voting during a meeting. So if you're in a meeting, you need to vote on any of the action items. And so to finish up, I just have our fiscal year 22 calendar up on the screen, and it has the LCB duties presented as a timeline. So I have highlighted the first quarter meeting, which is where we are now, showing that we've just done the bylaws, grievance procedures, and member training. And then in the second quarter, we'll have another meeting. We'll present the TDSP major update, and then we'll also present the AOR and AER for your approval. And this timeline or calendar is also included in your backup if you all need to reference it at any point. And that is all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any board member comments? So I know that the TPA budget, for the board of directors allows for transportation. Does the TD LCB have a budget for this type of conference that is coming up in October that Kelsey mentioned, or that you mentioned?
Yeah. So are you asking if the TD planning grant covers?
Training, correct. And would that conference be considered training?
I'm actually not sure, but Alyssa is inching over to me, so I will let her answer that.
Okay. Hi, everyone. You can't see me on camera right now, but that's okay. So the TD grant covers for our staff to go, but and we can check on this internally, or maybe Margie will have something to say. I know that we do cover the cost of some trainings for members. So I don't know, this might be something that we would be able to cover the cost of for someone to attend, but the grant itself only covers for staff to attend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Mayor Grant, I tried to say something earlier, but I guess I was muted. So our year begins with the August meeting each year. This is meeting number 1, we're considered.
Yes, Robert, our fiscal year starts July 1st.
July 1st, okay, thank you.
Mayor Grant, I will provide a comment. This is Margie at the TPA. I will need to double check with Matthew, our CFO, to see if the LCB would be covered under the training purview that we have allowance in our handbook.
And so
just to be sure, just because with the LCB, they are a little bit special and different. So I will double check with that to make sure it's something we can pay for. It may come out of our local dues or something like that, but we can definitely double check.
So there's different expenses. One is the registration of the conference. Their other is the travel expenses. The other is per diem meals or hotel. So if you could
Right.
get it to those categories.
Yes,
that'd
so
be helpful.
for us, we consider all of that under travel and training.
Mhm.
So I'll double check with our CFO and we will report back to the LCB.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Lou Ferry for the CTC update.
All right.
Zoom
Good afternoon.
webinar.
So for the record, Lou Ferry, Senior Manager of Paratransit for Palmtran. So we have a pretty lengthy presentation here because we're going to go into some eligibility stuff as well. So I know we have a kind of a time thing. So I'll go through each slide and then I'll ask if there's any questions for that slide. So the first one is Palmtran service update. So we've done a lot of updates in the last year or so to talk about COVID, and that's pretty much what's running all of our lives. But here's just a short snapshot. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask through the chair. So fixed route and connection, as of August 1st, 2021, we have no restrictions on the passengers on our buses. So if you recall before, we used to have a certain amount of like 20 passengers on the fixed route. We upped it to 30. And then now there's no restrictions on the amount of passengers on our fixed route. For the paratransit, we had it down to close to one, a single seat, then down to a couple more. And now we can put as many passengers as we can fit, and the demand is actually deserving of that. The COVID-19 safety protocols are still continuing. We're still cleaning buses. We're still doing everything we need to for that. School's back in session, as pretty much everyone knows, which is creating more traffic, higher ridership, and we are finding challenges with our on-time performance because of that. I'm hoping that after a couple of weeks, it normally takes a couple of weeks for the parents and the traffic to kind of not get as crazy, and people know what lines they go in, and kids know where they go. So we did see some improvement in the on-time performance this Friday and a little bit this week as well. The Go Glades is still operating under a dial-a-ride system, and it's averaging over 200 passenger trips a weekday, so it's doing very well. Does anyone have any questions on anything on this slide? All right, hearing none. So the next one is just to reiterate our policies on the COVID-19.
I had it. I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
I can't see if I'm muted or not. I was asking is it a smart idea to take away all the restrictions with this Delta variant being so common in Florida, and it's spreading. I mean, we're the worst state in the country right now for COVID cases.
Yes, so that's an interesting question. We are following the guidelines of our local health district, our incident commander, so to speak, which is the county Virginia Baker and all that. But I have an interesting conversation with one of our riders the other day, and they asked about that. Now that we're under an emergency order here in Palm Beach County, are we doing anything different on the buses? So I asked her, when you go on the bus and you take the trip on the bus, are you still going to places? Yeah, where are you going? Walmart, out to eat, Duffy's. I go visit my friends. I said, okay, well, do you see, are they changing any protocols where you're going? Are you doing anything different? So it's almost like there's an inherent risk on taking public transportation, even going out into the public. So for us, we're doing everything we can to create a safe environment for that. We try to talk to our riders to let them know, you continue to wear your PPEs, to, bring your hand sanitizer, your wipes if you want. But remember, they're taking the buses to go other places into the community. And so right now, our trip demands, actually, we need this. We just about to have the capacity right now to hold the amount of trips. And we have a couple slides from here. You'll see the increase in the ridership. But right now, yeah, as far as people being vaccinated, things like that, I still do not know of any person that has got COVID by taking our public transportation, Palmtran Connection.
Okay, thank you.
So that's a good thing. So hopefully I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So COVID-19 policies, as I was saying, as the CDC guidelines are, Palmtran will not transport persons who are COVID-19 positive on its fixed route connection or Go Glades Also, federal law requires wearing a mask while on the transportation vehicles, and failure to comply may result in denial of boarding or removal. So refusing to wear a mask is a violation of the FTA rules and the laws that we abide by public transit. We do have reasonable accommodations for those that cannot wear a mask, and they have to go through a process by submitting a form with the reason why they cannot wear the mask, and then we will determine if that a reasonable accommodation can be given to that person. Okay.
That's good then.
All right, so these are the good numbers that we want to look at, and we can kind of tell a better story. Mayor Grant asked for a 2-year snapshot, which I think was a great idea because you can actually see it a little bit better. So back in August of 19, we were at 84,000 plus trips. September, we went down to 75,000. There was a hurricane, so that's why. October 19, we went back up to 93,000 to 81,000. And then I'm just going to fast forward to February, we're at 85,000, then boom, March, 60,000. April, we were way down to 27,000 trips and change. Then we are gradually going up 34,000, 44,000, 48,000 and change in July as things opened up. It would pretty much stayed kind of consistent, 48,000, 44, 45,000, 51. And I'm reading this just to make sure that, you know, Takesha and those that might not be able to see it understand all the numbers. So bear with me. In December, we were at 48,800. January, 48,000 again. February, a little bit up to 50. Then March, up to 61,000. Then in April, 58,000, 59,877 thousand in May, June at 57, and we're at in July 56,342. And then we're only going up now with the schools back in session. So hopefully this gives a nice snapshot of what the ridership has looked like and how this is effective. Does anyone have any questions about the ridership? All right.
I'm sorry, Lou, I
yep.
was trying to unmute. I do have Takesha with her hand raised.
Sure, Takesha.
Yes, this is a question from your previous slide. I apologize. I didn't want to interrupt. Regarding the mask exemption for certain individuals, can you repeat the information, please? If you want to do it at the end, because that was not pertaining to this slide.
No, that's okay. So the FTA are the laws that govern the transportation component requires wearing a mask while on the transportation vehicles. So failure to comply with that may result in a denial of boarding or removal. So refusing to wear a mask is a violation of that law. Now, we do allow passengers that need reasonable accommodations to not wear a mask if it's a medical reason as to why they can't wear that mask. They have to fill out a form. You can find it on our website, or you can call our eligibility department, and we can get that form to you. But once that form is filled out, it has to be a medical reason. It can't be, well, I just don't like a mask. It doesn't fit well on me or something like that. There has to be a reason why you can't wear that mask, and then we would make that reasonable accommodation.
Now my question is, does the individual have to provide like some medical documentation to support their medical reasoning for not wearing a mask?
They have to provide whatever information they find pertinent to make their case. If they want to, they can. If not, if they want to explain what that problem is, we take that all into account. So it's on a case by case basis.
Okay, so medical documentation, like from a doctor, is not required, is what you're saying. And my second question is, like, is there like a board, like who determines that?
There's someone at Palm Train Connection that we've deemed as someone that makes that recommendation or receives the reasonable accommodations, and will make that decision.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a follow-up question to that. So persons who are not going to be wearing a mask, are there procedures in place in terms of how they sit on the vehicle? Because you never know, sometimes we do have those expulsive cough or sneezing and so on. So just wanted to make sure what it looks like for a person who is not wearing a mask, how the seating is pretty much, kind of like situated.
So actually, according to the ADA and according to the laws we have to abide by on transportation, because we don't require a certain seat on the fixed route, we can't require someone to sit in a certain spot on the paratransit vehicle. So they can sit anywhere they want, and that's their choice. I will tell you that we have sneeze guards in between the seats now. So if I'm sitting, let's say in the third row, the second row would have a plastic sneeze guard there to try and, as you would in Publix and places like that. So we are doing what we can on our buses, but no, according to the law, that reasonable accommodation has to be made.
Okay. Well, I guess passengers have to be aware. You see somebody without a mask, I personally wouldn't want to sit next, not in any shape or form discrimination, but just protecting myself, especially from this Delta variant. And even though, the majority of us have been vaccinated, fully vaccinated, we're not quite sure, how we can contract this variant in one way or the other. So personally, I just think persons have to be aware and decide, okay, this is not the best way for me to sit. So I personally would be staying away from somebody who doesn't have a mask, especially so close up in a closed environment. So I don't know. That's just my personal piece on that. Thank you.
You got it. I'm another thing. I mean, I've brought this up in previous meetings, but we do have those sneeze guards, and we also have an air filtration system that goes through and kills the bacteria in the air. And in all of the new vehicles that we have, the older vehicles, which we only have about 60 of them, don't have that on there. But again, we're trying to do everything on our part to keep it safe. But as I said, if you're going to go out in the community, no matter how, no matter where, there's an inherent risk for anyone and everyone. There's a risk for me sitting in this meeting right now with the people in this building right now. So I made the choice to come to this meeting and participate in this manner. These times are unpredictable. They are difficult for everyone. All I can say is we are trying to do the best that we can, and we encourage our riders to do the same. And I think we actually have had people that have said, I don't want to get on that bus. There's too many people on that bus. And we say, you can take the trip, or we could try and fit you in later on in the day if we could find a spot. And we've done that for them. So we try to be as accommodating as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you got it. Does anyone have any questions about the passengers transported by month?
I do. Is that chart reflective of what other communities or counties have experienced? Or, if you know at all?
From my colleagues and those that I've talked to throughout the industry, they have not seen ridership this high. We are very unique. Many, like Broward went down to, I mean, we were averaging, even at the height of last August, July, August, September, all that, over 2,000, 2,500 trips, 2,300 trips, where even Miami-Dade was only at 3,000, and Broward was at like maybe 1,000 or 1,100. So we've seen that our community is getting out. Our community is out and being participants in anything and everything. We never stopped the dialysis. Let me put it this way too. Another really good thing that we could stand by is we've never stopped providing service. We've been out there throughout this pandemic, throughout everything. We've been there. Even when things were closed, we took people where they needed to go, to the places that are open, to the Publix, to the medical appointments, to where they needed to go. And we've just seen a boom that people are out there. They're taking advantage of the things that are open and being parts of the community. Yeah. Yeah. So we are unique in that sense. Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have any questions about the ridership? All right, I'm going to move on to the next one, OTP. We can always come back to things, no problem. Just want to make sure we're moving forward. So Palm Tran Connection OTP, again, back in August 19, when we had a lot of older vehicles out on the road and a high demand for service, where everything was open, the senior centers were open, schools, everything, we were at 76% on time. We're 80% on time, 76% in September, 74 in October. We went up to 81% in November, 83%, 81% in January. And again, I'll just fast forward to March, where we were at 85%. And then boom, the pandemic hits. And of course, there's not as many riders, but we still have a lot of buses out there. We kept a lot of hours out there, a lot of buses out there. We had the one passenger or less on the bus as well. And we zoomed up to 98%, 98, 97, 97, 96, 95 pretty much throughout that. And then when you see the vaccine come out in January, February area, all of a sudden people started riding more just as the ridership went up. We go 94, 93%, 91% in March, 90% in May, June was 92%, and July is 92%. So our goal is 92%, which we've done really well in the last, year, but now we're starting to see, even in the last 3 weeks, we're hovering around 87 or 84 or 83. It's been a real big challenge for us with the traffic out there, with the school trips, and just people getting back out there. So that's the OTP. Does anyone have any questions about the on-time performance? All right, and the next one is just, it's interesting, the OTP and the productivity, which is the passengers per service hour by month. Again, you'll see here, August 2019, we were at 1.62. Our goal is 1.5. And we went up to 1.67, 1.69, 1.58. Now, again, this talks about more about the average throughout the day. So of course, in the mornings when there's that peak, the buses have more people in them. Throughout the middle of the day, there might be not as many people on them. And then it spikes up again in the afternoon when we have those peaks again. But this is the average passengers per service hour. You'll see down during the pandemic, boom, we go from 1.28 in March down to 0.86 in April, up to about 1.01, 1.13, and we hover around that 1.1, 1.0 point all the way up till February of this year, 21, where it goes to 1.18 and then it steadily goes up. Why? Because more people are riding. We've put more people on the buses. We opened up the capacity, so 1.25 in March, 1.26, 1.32 in May, 1.30, and then for July we're at 1.33. There was a day this week, actually last week, I think we were at 1.57 or something like that. We had to put so many people on the buses. So it just shows with the demand, the passengers per service hour go up, but the OTP goes down because it's harder. So it's one or another. There's more people on the bus. Does anyone have any question about the productivity?
What did you mean by your goal is 1.5? When it's below 1.5 is good, isn't it?
No, we want so to control costs, the more people we put on the bus, the better it is to save and be more cost effective. I mean, theoretically, we would love to have 2 passengers per hour, but because of the 10 to 11 mile, 10 miles average per trip we have, and the length of our county and how big it is, and the area of our service area is so large, it's really hard for us to get that. Contractually speaking, our goal is 1.50. So as the passengers per hour goes up, our cost savings increase. As it goes down, it costs us more money to provide service.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, the next slide is the TD ridership and complaint report that I usually do every snapshot every month for you guys. So in May, TD ridership was 7,124. And I'll just tell you that in May, we had 59,877 trips. 7,124 were TD. We had 6 TD complaints and 1 was valid. In June, we had 6,262 TD riders. And in June, we had 57,940 trips for all of Palm Train Connection. April, 6,564. And April, we had 58,926 trips, just to let you know. So for June, we had 9 TD complaints, 6 were valid. April, we had 13 TD complaints, 3 were valid. The valid complaints was 1 discourteous, 1 late pickup, 1 condition of the vehicle, 1 was speeding, 1 was cell phone, 2 was driver, no assistance, and 3 were other. It could be any other complaint that they have. So that is the TD report there for the ridership and complaint. Does anyone have any questions about that one? Hearing none, I'll just move on if that's okay. right, the next one. So Mayor Grant, you had asked about a summary or something with the new paratransit RFP. It's still not actually, it's still with PalmTran. It's still not even with county purchasing. We hope to get it to county purchasing by the end of this month. But I tried to do a snapshot for you of just some of the big changes. So I'll go through these as quickly as possible as to not take up too much time. But the contract changed. The first one I wanted to talk about was the number of vendors. So the current contract had 3 prime vendors. We had a north, which was included Belglade, a central, and a south. We had an 40-40-20 split, where it allowed for a component of a 20% smaller vendor involved. The proposed contract that we have going forward is 2 prime vendors, a north that includes Belglade and a south. So as you may recall, we only have 2 providers right now, First Transit and MV. So the experience that we've gained from this current contract shows that these 2 prime vendors are the best route to go with DBE participation throughout both of those providers. We just feel that has the most efficient coverage for the county. The option for non-dedicated service providers, the current contract has no option for that. On the proposed contract, we do have an option for a possible 10 to 20% of our work to go to like an Uber, a Lyft type service as an alternative if we wanted to use that for off-peak or hard to serve trips that again, we can find some increase in efficiencies and on-time performance. So that's something that we're going to put in our RFP to see what we can get back from the proposers. The reimbursement method right now, services are reimbursed gate to gate for revenue hours. The proposed contract is services from first pickup to last drop off. We found that the gate to gate is very costly. Industry standard is usually the first pickup to last drop off. And that's how we're going to change it for this one. Performance ratios. The ratio for the complaint ratio is 3 valid complaints per 10,000 completed trips in this contract. The new one, we're actually going to 6 valid complaints per 10,000 completed trips. As Jeannie is on the line right now, she can tell you that it's not attainable. The previous ratio is unattainable. Every month we hit them up with a liquidated damage, even if they provide excellent service. If we were to get 3 complaints per 10,000 trips, they get hit with that liquidated damage. We just felt as though that was just not an unattainable goal. Vehicle mileage. The estimated retirement age at the previous contract was 300,000 miles for our buses. The new one is the estimated retirement is going to be set at 200,000 for the minivans and 250,000 for the buses. We found out that the 300,000 miles is just way too high. FDOT actually has it at 200,000 miles. We think we can push out a little extra 50,000 miles, but it's definitely going to help us out a lot to retire those vehicles and get the replacements in quicker. And the length of the contract, the current contract is a 7-year contract. The proposed contract we're actually going to go with is a 5-year contract with 2 2-year extensions for a possibility of 9 years. What we found there is industry trends are for longer term contracts. It allows for cost savings for the operating PACE facilities, the consistency and stability in service. We actually did run this RFP through a consultant who looked at some of the things that we're doing, some of the changes we made, and they also they concurred with all our recommendations to move forward with these changes. So I want to see if anybody had any questions about these changes or these proposed changes.
I have one question.
And I do have a hand raised virtually. I'm sorry, David.
And David's here too. So
yes, I just so after David, I have Elisa.
When you say the vehicles are retired, does that mean that you sold them or what?
So there's 2 things that can happen. So if a vehicle is retired, meaning we felt that its useful life for us, we can either find a nonprofit throughout Palm Beach County that can use it. Maybe a church needs it or something like that. And we have a program that we can donate it to them. Or the other would go to the county's OFMB has a auction, so it goes to the thrift store. Do you want to jump in, Jeremy?
Just a note on that. The way that we dispose of the vehicle at the end of its useful life is partially determined by the funding source for it. So this initial group that we're now almost at the end of retiring, we're all paid for with county funds through a bond issue. So there was a little bit more flexibility with regards to how we dispose of those vehicles. As we go forward, we've used a variety of different sources for vehicles. We continue to use county funds. We also have Section 5310 funding from the state. We've got other state funding for some of the vehicles, and we've used some federal funding also. So the different types of funding is going to tell us what we can and can't do. So going forward, we might not be able to donate as many vehicles because the federal rules for disposing of them may not allow that. But we are going to do our best to try to, any extra vehicles that we have that have met their useful life, to give them to community partners first, if possible, before just putting them to the open market and being auctioned off.
Well, I was just hoping that you received some of the monies back from the purchase of the vehicle that you can put into a new vehicle. And I realize about all the different money situations that are involved for each one of these type of vehicles, but I was just hoping that, some monies could be saved as far as future purchases, and also what specialized type of vehicles we actually need, not only today, but also in the future. They have new things that are coming out all the time. So that's all.
And to that end, yes, the proceeds from these vehicles, again, for the county vehicles, those go back to the county, but it's a nominal amount, and they are providing about $3.6 million a year for replacement vehicles from county funds. So we're doing pretty good with that deal. And then for the federal ones, we are obligated to use those proceeds back to the federal program. So they will kind of be just washed and put back towards purchasing additional vehicles. Very similar to how our fixed route buses are. When we dispose of those, that money is used to offset the cost of purchasing a new bus.
All right, thank you. And Margie said someone else had a question.
This is
Yes, I have. Yes, Elisa, and then Takesha
And I have one.
and Robert.
Thank you, Margie. So Lou, I just wanted to clarify the reimbursement method. Is the current contract the gate to gate, or is the plan to change to gate to gate? And also, can you explain again the difference between the gate to gate and the first pickup, last drop off, please?
Sure. So gate to gate means once the vehicle leaves, let's say MV, and it goes out into, once it leaves the gate, we start paying. The previous contract before this current contract was actually first picked up to last drop off. So we thought maybe paying them gate to gate, it would be, the cost would be more real, and we could see that savings within the hourly rate for the paratransit costs. We found that there's a lot that goes on from gate to gate. Once that vehicle leaves, sometimes it doesn't go directly to that first pickup. Sometimes there's other things that go on. So we feel as though that first pickup and last drop off is a more realistic hourly reimbursement that's better for us for this new contract. So this current contract is gate to gate. The proposed change is first pickup to last drop off.
Thank you.
You got it.
Takesha, when you're
Keisha?
ready.
Okay.
That's okay. I'll abstain from my question. Thank you.
So I have Robert.
Yeah, interestingly, I just filled out a survey that Clemson University is doing through American Foundation for the Blind. And it was talking about the use of, I forget the term they use, but it's basically, I guess, a driverless vehicles. And it was all kinds of questions about, how we would feel comfortable in terms of different issues. Have we considered at all using the kind of new technology that's out there for vehicles? I hope not.
Well, I think the word you're looking for is autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I've been to several conferences and listened to the autonomous vehicle presentations. And I'm always the one that bursts the bubble every time I'm there. Because if I go to something, I'm going to ask a question.
Sloan.
And what I usually ask them, Robert, is, so what are you going to do with a wheelchair person? Or what are you going to do with someone that's blind? What are you going to do with someone that's disabled? And they usually say, I haven't thought about that. And then I say, well, you should have started with that, and then everyone can be accessible. So we have not looked into that, autonomous vehicles right now. That's not a solution we're looking at right now. Down the road, maybe there's a possibility, but right now the autonomous vehicles is not a solution for us. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes.
All right.
And then Lou, I don't have any other hands raised, so unless someone else has questions, I think you can move forward.
Sorry. Okay. Jeremy had just said we could give some of that feedback to our TDP. We have a transportation development plan going on. I think Yash Nagal might be on part of our planning department. So we can include some of that, the comments that we're having here as well on that transportation development plan as well as our transportation disadvantage service plan as well. So there's a lot of different plans, but we just want to provide the best and safest transportation we can here. So I'm sorry, what did you say? Did someone say something else as I was talking to Jeremy? I'm sorry. Okay, we're good. All right. Before we move on to our next one, I wanted to bring up two things that I thought of through the presentation. And I just wanted to talk about, there's two, I guess three things just going on operationally that I wanted to share with everyone on the board. The number one big thing is industry-wide in transit right now, there is a shortage of drivers. We are all having a difficult time competing with everyone else that's out there. First, it was competing with just people not wanting to work. Now it's competing with what we offer the drivers and compensation and things like that. So as First Transit and MV tries to do everything they can to get these drivers in, offering bonuses, offering signing bonuses, doing what they can, we're finding throughout the country, there's these problems. And it's also on the fixed route side as well, just always trying to find new bus operators. So that is another challenge as well with the more passengers, traffic, of course, weather sometimes is a problem here too, but there's a really big problem with that, with the drivers. The other thing just to bring up is vehicles. We're looking to keep purchasing more new vehicles, but the chassis are not available to buy the vehicles. Also, there's a microchip, as many of you might know, there's a microchip in vehicles that is not available. They're not making them right now. So there's also a problem in even finding the chassis and then having these vehicles be built to our specifications to move on. So we're doing the best we can internally to try and see what we can do to keep moving on with our replacement plan and trying to get new drivers, trying to get them trained and be a productive part of our workforce. So Elsa out there, if you got anybody over there, Career Source that wants to drive a bus or one of our cutaways and all that, we'd be happy to have them. So I'm going to turn it over to Sheely right now for the next part of our presentation, unless anyone has any questions.
Lou, when you're talking about, I'm sorry, I forgot my question. I'll come back to it later. I'm sorry.
Lou?
Yes.
Lou, this is Elsa. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So offline, when you get a chance, send me an email and we will talk about it because we've had some on sites where we've looked for drivers for other areas and we may have some people to help.
Sounds great. Thank you.
I remember now. We're talking about purchasing new vehicles. I hope we're going to think about the vehicle that I had trouble getting in and out of. I forgot which one it is, but I hope we either don't purchase those or make some modification. That it's easier to get in and out of those vehicles. I don't forget which one it was. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was the minivan that was not a modified minivan. It was too
Right.
high for you to step into and all, and we are not purchasing those.
Thank you.
This Jeannie Crispin on the board and also with Envido, I just wanted to comment, we are offering a $900 signing bonus to drivers that pays out $300 at a time throughout the year. We're offering a referral bonus of $200 to anybody that refers a driver. Elsa, if you have any help you can give us, I wish you'd get in touch with me because it is very difficult to get people in the door to hire at this point. And I also have 7 drivers out with COVID, either quarantine for a family member or COVID themselves. So when you compound all that, it's getting very difficult for us.
Well, we're here to help in any way that we can, so let's connect offline and reach out to me and we'll see what we can do.
So before I pass the gavel to Vice Chair David, I just also want to say that, you know, my city is interested as well to hold any sort of career fairs or, you know, getting people through the door to our city hall to get, you know, these people who have driver's license and have not been in an accident recently, these types of jobs, because they may be unaware of the part-time and full-time opportunities available. And so, so yes, Elsa, if you could also, I'll send you an email to see what we can do to host an event at Boynton Beach.
Mayor, we will look forward to it. So just reach out and we'll connect and we'll do it.
All right, thanks so much. All right, everyone have a great evening, and thank you again.
And just to note for the members, Vice Chair David Rafaitis will assume the role as chair during the meeting. And next we have Sheely that's presenting.
Hi, hello, good afternoon, everybody. So right now we're going to review our new connection efficiency project for the connection eligibility process. We're gonna follow the same rule that Lou had. I'm gonna go over the slide, and then if you have any questions, we can open up for questions after the slide is reviewed. So here is the overview of the Palm Trend Connection pre-COVID of the new CEP project. Our first phase of the CEP is the eligibility. We had encountered a steady growth of participants utilizing and actually acquiring services through our door-to-door service. So we had a steady, very steady growth in demand for paratransit services. Usually a large population of paratransit service compared to fixed route. We were in the past actually approving an average of 360 new applicants in a month. All those applicants were becoming eligible automatically. Just because we were not engaging face-to-face or into conversations with our clients before making them eligible for our services. This brought the issue up that we were having capacity constraints in our vehicles, by the decline of on-time performance, as you saw in the previous slides that Lou showed on those several years of numbers prior to COVID. The growth was so immense that we were becoming very concerned on how we were going to provide service if the demand of applicants continue to happen in that way. So with that into consideration, we brought in, Palm Trend brought in a consultant, Delta Services, which assisted with the process, with a new process, and brought us to industry and standards for best practices to move forward with this new application process. The eligibility was implemented, this new eligibility process was implemented in February 16, 2021, which we started our new program here on the second slide. Do you have any questions before I move forward? I'm sorry. Okay, so this next slide shows in the last couple of years worth of applicants becoming eligible for our services. So we can see, like, for example, in August 2019, that we were receiving 428 applications. Out of those 428 applications, they were all approved. Okay, without actually getting into detail on how the client was going to use it, how often, and so forth. What was the purposes of them applying for our services? So as we move forward, we can see that in April 2020, there was a decline of 209 applicants. That was the decline that we had because of COVID, and that showed a little bit, but even though that we had those constraints of this pandemic, the clients continue to apply for the service. They was still going to need transportation. We can move forward just a tiny bit more as far as April 2021. You can see 64 applicants. For example, in this statistic shows that the clients that were actually applying for our services were the ones that were actually going through our new process. Now, what does the process, what does it mean, the eligibility process? So the first step into applying for the door-to-door service now is a 4-step evaluation. First, we have our applicants call our eligibility department, which each representative will take the first call and do the first screening of the client. We will take the client's first and last name, date of birth, home address, and phone number. Following is a small 2 to 4 questions that we ask our applicants. And the first question is going to be how and why you're going to utilize our service. Okay, do you require any assistance? And if so, what kind of assistance do you need while boarding our vehicle? Then we do ask the clients, where are they going to be traveling? Why are they going? Where are they going to go? And how often they're going to be traveling to these locations. So after we go through that and the clients makes the determination to either, yes, I do qualify for the service, or I do not qualify for the service. There are clients, for example, that say, well, that's not the service I was looking for. So they don't want to receive that application. And we'll take it that way. The clients that do want to move forward with the process, we will send them an application over the mail. The applications they are only available through our eligibility process, meaning that the client has to call. Applications are no longer available in our website. However, they are still lingering all applications in the internet. And if we do, for example, receive an application that is old, we will contact the client and let them know that the process has changed. We'll put them through the new process and we'll move forward from there. Now, after the client fills the application out, we do ask the clients to mail it back, email it, or fax it to us, and allow us, the eligibility department, about 7 business days for us to process and input the application into our database. The second part of that is also for the client. We are putting our clients responsible for their applications, how they fill it out. If there's an incomplete application, we will let them know that the application is incomplete and we cannot move any further with the process. Now, let's say that the client does fill everything out and we're ready to do an assessment call. This is our second step of the eligibility process. The client will have to call our eligibility department and schedule their phone interview. Once the phone interview is scheduled, one of our representatives will call the applicant and we will go over the application question by question. Now, depending on that assessment that we do and how the answers are received from the applicant, we can make a determination to see if the eligibility representative will move forward into inquiring a medical form verification directly with a doctor. So which means that we remove that step from the old application that we had versus the new one. Our clients no longer have to go see a doctor to fill a portion out of that particular section. So the clients literally would have to just send the whole application to us, and we, the eligibility department will make, once again, the determination to us to reach out to the medical provider with a particular form that we have within the application that is allowing Palm Trend Connection to reach out to their medical provider. After finalizing that particular part, after the application is completely filled out, for example, in this case, the client went through the assessment, the medical form verification is filled out by their medical provider and is received back to Palm Train Connection, we start the 7 to 21 business days of processing. This 7 to 21 business days is a FDA standard. It is within the ADA circular that allows any paratransit entity to process an application within those days, 7 to 21 business days. Once a determination is made to the applicant, we will make a determination and we will mail a letter advising the client what is their status with Palm Train Connection. So this is, I will conclude this slide. Does anyone has any questions?
I do. Just to clarify the medical verification. So we no longer have to fill out the medical, we no longer have to take the application to a doctor that you're now contacting the doctor if necessary. And we just have to give you the client just has to give you the name of the doctor and their phone number.
That is correct. There is a medical release form that the client will initial and fill out the details of it. With that information, we will reach out your medical provider and provide certain information that you explain throughout the assessment. And within that information, we'll submit the medical form and a verification with a doctor. So no, the clients no longer have to go to the doctor.
Okay. I know today I tried to call the eligibility department and there were like 5 people ahead of me, which is good, I guess. And but also my call got disconnected while I was holding on line for about 10 minutes. So I'm not sure what happened, but.
Well, because of the new process, our agents are spending more time on the phone with the applicant, specifically on the first call. We will have to interview the client to see if they qualify for our service, and each call will take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the client's questions that they have and how they want to use the service. So sometimes the calls will be extended versus the ones that we had in the past that they were a lot shorter than what they were that they are now. So that is the reason why the clients are spending a little bit more time on hold, strictly if they're so little waiting.
Yeah, also during that wait, there was always the opportunity for you to press the button and leave a message if you wanted to, which we get back to that as well. So I encourage you to leave a message if you don't want to wait, and we could always figure out why you were dropped. But the important thing I wanted to just say real quick about the eligibility process, so you guys all understand why we're taking so much time to explain this, is it went from a registration process where someone filled out a piece of paper. We never met the person. We never saw the person. We never talked to the person. And we just looked at their piece of paper and it was a stamp of yes. To now that we're talking to people and we're trying to figure out what their need is. What is your need? Do we fit your need, or is there something else out there? Can you walk? Can you take a bike? Can you take fixed route? Are there other means of transportation out there that might not just be Palm Train Connection? So through that first call, that screening, as Sheila alluded to, we're finding most people are self-denying. Most people are saying, well, gee, this isn't for me. I can ride the fixed route, or I can do something else. So we see a lot of people that don't even go on to that second call or need an application or things like that. And that's where you see such a decline in automatic, eligibility, so to speak. So I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
Correct. And also with the phone interview, either with the first one or the second call, we are able to communicate what our service is to the applicant, that we are able to let them know that this is public transit, that yes, we are a door-to-door service for clients with disabilities, but we are also an extension to the fixed route. We are the arms and legs of the fixed route. So we are mimicking everything that the fixed route does But what we do is that we extend our service to the door to door. And those explanations, even though that this sometimes might sound a little bit harsh, that's who we are. We are a door-to-door service for, yes, clients with disabilities, that we do not provide, for example, a PCA service, or we don't provide extended service as far as medical, or our drivers are not medically trained. So we want our clients to understand that is like taking the fixed route or the city bus, but in this case, it's deviated. And the purpose also of this new eligibility process is to identify the clients that really need to use their service versus those that they're able to transport themselves either on the fixed route or trying to use other modes of transportation, leaving behind the ability for those clients that really need to utilize the service to achieve a good on-time performance, to arrive to their destinations on time. So the idea of this new process is to give the chance to those clients that really need to follow the process to become eligible and really use the service how it's actually needed. So we're going to go ahead and move to the next slide. So eligibility criteria. Now we do follow certain, we follow 4 questions. These 4 questions are also part of the FDA ADA circular. This information is embedded in that document. So one of the questions is, does the individual with a disability, is it what does prevents them, him or her, from getting to and from a bus stop at a point of origin or destination? Can the client do that? Yes or no? If so, why not? So we will ask further questions as we go through the interview process. Second question will be, can the individual board, utilize, or disembark the vehicle at a bus stop? So depending on those answers within the application, the questions are embedded in different formats. What I mean about that is that the wordings are going to be different, but they are asked throughout the application. Can the individual recognize the destination and disembark the bus? Question number 4, if the passenger's trip requires transfers, are the path of travel between routes are accessible for them to navigate by the individual? So those are common questions that are embedded within, like I said, within the application. And based on those answers, we will make a determination to see if the client is eligible to utilize the door-to-door service. Does anyone have any questions on this slide?
I'm happy you have number 4 there because that's been an issue in the past for some of my residents in Century Village. But
all right. So we're going to go ahead and move forward to the next slide.
Before you move forward, this is Elsa. Can I ask a quick question? Maybe I missed it, but how long does this whole process last or takes approximately?
Okay, once the application is finalized and is fully completed, it takes anywhere from 7 to 21 business days. Now, from the moment, so the applicant will call in, we will send the application the same day that the client is calling or the next day, depending the time of the call. The applicant will receive the application anywhere between 2 to 3 business days on the mail. Once the applicant receives the application, they can have several ways to submit the application. So it will take completed, it might take anywhere, it could be 10, 15 days, depending on the applicant is actually filling out the application completely. Are there any missing items? Does the medical, for example, if we decide to send the medical form verification to their medical provider, what is their turnaround time? So a complete application will be deemed full when that last page, which is the medical form verification, is received by the medical provider. From there, we can start the 7 to 21 business days. Does that answer your question?
I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Also, just one other quick question. quickly. Is this process on your website? Or for example, if a client of ours comes in, sometimes we get some of our clients with special needs asking us, how do we do this? So I hear the process, but is there somewhere I can refer them to see the guidelines or the process? Or just
Absolutely.
send me, some
Yes,
information on it?
you will have to go under palmtrend.org, and under services, you will click paratransit. And then from there, there's a list of available information together with the overview of how to follow the steps to the eligibility process is also there as the informational part. But they can also call our eligibility department if they do have any questions about it.
Very helpful. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right, our next slide is actually when a client becomes eligible, what is their determination type? So we have 4 determination types. We have the unconditional, which it means that the applicant is not able to utilize the fixed route under any circumstances. So Palm Trend Connection or the door-to-door service is what they're going to utilize from now on. They don't have any restrictions on their service. The next one is a conditional eligibility, which there are clients that are able to utilize the fixed route under certain circumstances, for example, seasonal, morning, or at night. So it will be depending, that is on a case-by-case basis that the determination is made. Clients with temporary eligibility means that they have a loss of functional ability that is preventing them from utilizing the fixed route at that moment. Usually that information is received by their medical provider. They will put a date on their temporary eligibility, and we in our eligibility department will go by that date that the medical provider is providing to us. Now, we do have ineligible and denial clients. By the information they have provided, it shows that they are able to utilize the fixed route, and they don't have any disability that is preventing them from using the fixed route. However, when denials are giving out, we do give them options as far to use the fixed route, our TD section of it. If they bring certain information to our office, they will go through a process to receive a reduced fare bus pass. And then our last section here will be all the applicants. They have the right to appeal our determination through an appeal process, which is also listed in our website. So if the client is not happy to what they have received in the determination we have made, they have certain amount of time within the letter that they receive with certain directions on how to, if they decide to appeal our determination, to follow. Does anyone have any questions on this slide?
Can you just explain the appeals process, please?
The appeal process, it is based, once you receive the letter, you have 90 days to appeal, meaning that you will have to submit a form to Palm Trend Connection, that you will have to follow certain steps and answer certain questions. Once you answer all of that information, we required, or we ask for you to submit backup information to why you are appealing. There is an appealing officer that we have, and based on the appealing officer will review all the information in the process that the eligibility agent went through and why there is a denial. So based upon that, we will make a determination if you qualify for the appeal or not.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This concludes my section. Go ahead.
Yep. No, thank you very much. So that concludes the eligibility component of it. Clicker. So how much time do we have? Because there's a lot to talk about here. So I can go through the evaluation update. Do you want to do this now, or do you want to see if anybody has any questions? Or I mean, I'm here, so.
Okay, so the meeting is advertised to go until 4. It's okay if we go over. We just need to maintain at least 3 members.
Okay, just making sure everybody is on board with everything. So
Lou, I have a general question. I don't know if you want me to do it now or later at the end.
okay, general question. Go for it.
Is the change that you made this year with you can only make a reservation 3 days instead of 7 days? How has that affected service in terms of, excuse me, in terms of no shows and on time service?
Right. So I think you might have missed the meeting. I went over that, but we actually have seen a decrease in no-shows and cancellations because of that. Again, the reason why we made that change, we changed our reservation process from 7 days out. So that means you can book a trip 7, 6, 5, 4 days in advance. We found that those are most of the trips that are canceled. So we went down from 3, 2, and the day before you wish to travel. And we found that that was very successful.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to go through this CTC evaluation update now. There's a lot of words here. Hopefully I'll kind of give a summary of what the finding was and recommendation and then our response in concern of the time that we have here. So as you guys know, the 2021 CTC evaluation was presented to the board at the last meeting. So these were some of the sections and the key findings and the recommendations that were made. And then now our opportunity to respond as the CTC is at this meeting now. So I'll go through each slide and we can, see if anybody has any questions. So the general questions part of it, the key finding was there was a high demand for paratransit services. It continued to make it necessary to transfer riders from paratransit services to fixed route public transportation. PalmTrans outreach coordinator and mobility coordinator have begun to prepare the trainings and workshops for customers to transition from paratransit services to fixed route. In addition, there's a PT stat team dedicated to promoting ridership on fixed route. The recommendation was that the CTC should continue to develop and implement trainings and workshops quarterly or as needed to encourage and teach eligible riders how to easily access and transfer to the fixed route or tri-rail or from paratransit. The CTC should develop a video education program to inform riders of how to use the fixed route bus system. The program should be available on PalmTrans social media, website, and can be played in the lobby at Connection. So our response to that is the COVID-19 pandemic has made it difficult to hold the community education meetings we plan. In December, PalmTran did hire a direct service outreach coordinator and a mobility coordinator to promote, educate, and travel train the riders and community on all accessible services we have. When conditions are appropriate, we will evaluate the need for customer training and workshops and get them out there. We thought we were able to do it. Now we're kind of pulling that back now again because of what's going on out there. We have videos to promote the use of fixed route and to educate the customers on Connection. We will continue to make more videos and utilize our PT stat teams to improve the communication and promote education and ridership. So we actually do have a few videos and we'll continue to make more. Our marketing department is making them, posting them on social media, putting them on our website. So we're excited about that as well. Does anyone have any questions about that part of the update? All right, we'll move on to the next one. So this one was from general questions as well. The key finding was that the CTC has adapted to COVID-19 in a way that keeps employees and riders safe while still providing service to riders. The recommendation was we should continue to monitor the COVID-19 crisis and take appropriate action to adapt. The CTC should review innovations that have come out with COVID-19 protocols to assess what changes could be carried forward to improve service and enhance resilience of the system. So our responses throughout the pandemic, the PalmTran has not stopped serving our customers. We provided a safe, clean system with innovative solutions to combat the pandemic, and we will continue to do so. Connection also expanded the services we provide due to COVID-19, including meal deliveries, fixed route support, pass-up management, and shuttle services. So again, we're just going to continue to do that as well. Does anyone have any questions on that one? All right, next one was for chapter 427. The key finding was the CTC has a goal of increasing estimated bus pass trips by 10% for paratransit riders in fiscal year 2020. 17% of all new clients were issued ADA ID cards, a decrease from 20% in fiscal year 2019. This decrease was likely due to part of COVID-19. No new ADA ID cards were issued between April and June of 2020. The recommendation was to continue to evaluate trends and assess the impact of COVID-19 on the bus pass trips for TD clients. The CT response was, yes, the lobby at Palm Train Connection was closed to the public and ADA cards were not processed during the pandemic. For a large part of the pandemic, Palm Train did not charge fares as well. The lobby has since reopened and the processing of ADA cards is resumed. This is done in conjunction with our new ADA eligibility process that you guys all just heard of. The new process better matches the customer's needs with the services available in the community. This will further transition ADA and TD riders to the fixed route. Does anyone have any questions on this one?
Which county administrator is that?
I'm sorry?
Which assistant county administrator has been assisting, but no cooperation from the private?
Oh, did I go to the next one?
That's the
Yeah, I think you're on the wrong one.
I'm on the wrong one.
bottom
huh?
right.
Which one am I on? I'm still on general questions of CTC adapted to
next one.
COVID-19. I guess we did that one.
Yep,
Am
next
I
one.
wrong here? Let me see what I got here. Oh, I think mine might be different. So high
The
demand for
wrong
power.
slide was on the, up there, Lou. The wrong slide was up there. It wasn't the slide you were reading.
All right, so this is this one. We just did that one. All right, the next one is the school buses. Okay, so this is the same pretty much answer every year. The key finding is true. It says in chapter 427 that we should be working with school buses. The recommendation has always been, if possible, work with school buses. We've tried, it doesn't work in our system. The school trips that we provide is very unique to our area as well. If you talk to pretty much anyone in paratransit, they say, why are you taking people to school? That's crazy. But here in Palm Beach County, we do. Charter schools, private schools, they've realized that if they get ADA service, we have to provide it, and we do it. Assistant County Administrator Todd Bonlarn. So Todd has done everything he could to work with the school board. Chad Hockman, Clinton even met. We've done everything we could. It's a monster of charter schools already don't really get along with our own school board now. To get in the transportation component was just way beyond what we could do at this moment. As I spoke earlier about the challenges we have with OTP and the challenges we have with ridership, a lot of it comes from those charter schools. They expect us to wait in the same lines. They expect us to be at their beck and call. They expect us, and we're buses. We might have someone just coming off of dialysis on the bus, and then we got to go pick up someone from a charter school. We got to wait in a parent line, and it takes a half hour or 40 minutes to get this person. Then we're now actively, we have been reaching out to the parents, reaching out to the schools. This is not part of our service. We cannot provide this, and we won't be able to if this continues. So we're doing everything we can internally, but we've just going on a tangent here too. In the last 2 days, we found out that, and then anyone online, if anyone knows about this, please help me out. But we found out that nursing homes have lost some kind of funding for transportation for their clients, their nursing home residents. So we just got an inquiry for 100 people to become eligible for paratransit from a group in Boca. And now we just got one from Boynton for another 90 people. So now they're going to try and use us to take that transportation. And we don't have the capacity and we don't have the ability to do this, but we're going to do everything we can to we'll put everyone through the process, but this might not be the most appropriate means of transportation for the nursing home residents. But this is what happens. School buses, school thing, people realize these things and it moves on like this. So we'd love to deal with the school, have a deal with the school system, but it just doesn't happen. All right. So the next one was the goal of increasing estimated. Is this the one I just did? No? Yeah, I think I just did this one. So we talked about that one. The next one is the CTSC has begun conducting eligibility interviews. So we talked about that. Recommendations, monitor and report impact of the phone eligibility interviews. So we just started with the presentation today. Also, we'll keep bringing back numbers so you guys can actually see how it's affecting the numbers. So we'll continue to do that. And all appropriate means of transportation are considered when assessing these needs. It's normally they call because they say they have a disability. So talking about bike lanes and bicycle routes sometimes isn't the easiest thing, but we've had conversations and maybe they don't realize that they can utilize that. So we do have that in the conversation. The next one, the key finding was there's not currently an arrangement with the wages coalition of Career Source. So again, this is in every recommendation. Again, we should have something with them. And then our response is always that we provide trips on connection and fixed route to those seeking employment. We're in constant communication with Career Source to try and help them. We partner with them to help with the hiring of bus operators. We continue even as we solicit it in this meeting today. But we do not have a contract with them or something like that. This was actually something in Chapter 427 that was created maybe 20 years ago and just has not come out of this statutes, which again, just like the school buses. And also you have to remember, we are a very large county. There's a lot of resources we have within our own means to provide the service. If you're talking about Sumter County way up there, maybe they would you know do something like this or work with school buses. So again, sometimes the TD Commission, when they write the rules, it's for the thought process is for everyone, meaning rural and urban CTCs, but we all do something different. The CTC evaluate part with the local standards. We are currently meeting the passengers no-show, the call hold times. We were not meeting, according to the findings, the increase of public transit ridership goal of 25%, the on-time performance goal of 90%, the road calls, complaint ratio, at-fault accidents. The recommendation was, of course, to work on those to improve them. The response for us is the CTC is constantly monitoring all aspects of the service throughout the pandemic. All public transit throughout the country experienced a decrease in ridership. Through the pandemic, on-time performance, as I said before, averaged well above the 92%. The past fiscal year, we have aggressively ramped up our fleet replacement by utilizing grants and county funds. We only have a little over 60 vehicles to replace from our initial 231 vehicles purchased in 2014. This will decrease the road calls and help keep the OTP high. Does anyone have any questions with anything so far? I'm sorry if I'm going fast, but I know there's still a lot to get to in this meeting. Continuing on with that, the complaint ratio during this period of time were mostly associated with OTP time performance, which has improved since the reporting period. We've also found the current standard to be unrealistic. So that's what we talked about, working on to develop a more realistic standard. The PT Stat team is analyzing and continuing to promote a safe environment with new initiatives to decrease the at-fault accidents. Most accidents associated with the statistics that we reported on are minor incidents, backing into mailboxes or other fixed objects, that we have to consider an at-fault accident. This passenger survey, again, is always an interesting component of the update, the evaluation. The survey respondents indicate that riders value dependable on-time performance. Of those who indicated they had an issue with their trip, 37% said that late pickup or return pickup was an issue. Several other riders mentioned being late due to spending long amounts of time on the bus. So recommendation is re-examine scheduling to optimize on-time performance and efficient routing. So the CTC, our response is the CTC is constantly optimizing the scheduling parameters to improve the rider experience. Our software vendor Trapeze has performed several health checks, and the PT Stat OTP team analyzes data and suggests innovative scheduling ideas to the Palm Train Connection team. The time spent on the vehicle, just to remind everyone, is comparable to the time it would take the rider to take a comparable fixed route trip. We do have a tool to monitor this to ensure the time on the vehicle is within the acceptable limits. But again, that means if someone is traveling from their home to the VA center, and if they were to take a comparable fixed route trip, and that took 2.5 hours, that means we have 2.5 hours to take them on the paratransit side. This includes walking from their house to the bus stop, waiting at the bus stop, any transfers, and when they get to that destination, that bus stop, walking to the, so we try to do the best we can to be reasonable with that. But sometimes normally we have people's expectations that are different than what we can actually provide when we find that people are on the vehicle for such a long time. Also from the surveys, several riders described the need to have an option for rescheduling rides due to last minute schedule changes. The recommendation was to explore options for this. As a public paratransit transportation system, we are not set up for same day and last minute schedules changes. It's not within our operational guidelines. However, we are testing a dial-a-ride pilot service in the Glades region called the Go Glades. That could be a model in the future if it succeeds, which they actually do same day trips right now. But right now, that's not within our purview to do that. The next one from the surveys was riders expressed a desire to pay online or by debit card. So again, the recommendation would be to offer a more convenient payment option. And the fare policy states exact change or tickets to ride Palm Train Connection right now. We have purchased a cashless fare system through Trapeze, and it's planned to be implemented hopefully by early 2022. We've already started the operational plans with it right now, so that's pretty excited. Right now it's called Easy Wallet. It's a system where you can load up a certain amount of money into your account, and then as you ride, it'll just automatically deduct it. So you will not have to pay that fare on the bus if you choose to use it. Another one on the surveys, some riders stated that drivers consistently get lost on the way to their home. So of course, ensure addresses are filed correctly. And if the GPS provides incorrect directions to an address, provide directions in the manifest with accurate directions. So our response to that is addresses are entered as requested by the rider when scheduling the trip. So sometimes we actually get bad addresses from our riders. Sometimes there could be a mistake with transposing a number, 5217 is 5127, things like that. So we try to correct them. But directions are included on the mobile data terminal, that MDT, when necessary. The CTC, we have updated the map within the MDT and Trapeze software. We bought a new map, we updated. We are planning on purchasing a real-time traffic option for the MDT, and we might be testing a new product to possibly integrate Google Maps. We're always looking to better this. This is always something that we need help with. But just as I use the phone in trying to find something, there has to be a human element to it too. Even if you're using the best Google Maps or anything like that, you still need to know where you are, look around and find your destination. So that's something that we're always struggling with the drivers that we have. So thank you. Any questions or discussions from this? You can go back to anything we've said. So I'll go through the chair first, Mr.
Well,
Yes.
do any board members have any questions before we go on? If not, thank you very much for that brief presentation.
Thanks, you're welcome.
All right, our next one is a presentation on the roles and responsibilities of David Rafadas to the transportation disadvantage. And I'm assuming I clicked the, okay. Okay, so the big question is how does my everyday work relate to transportation disadvantage? And you can see that we in the community, first of all, I work in the community services department. Some people are not aware of that. And we have a mission and a vision that's very, very similar to some of the things that you just heard today, right? And basically want to tell you that we have 3 divisions, and some of them are listed here, and we have several different programs. So every one of these programs or divisions have something related to transportation or transportation disadvantage. So we talk about either everything from the community action program, health, we'll go into this. We have the division of senior services, and if you see, I highlighted where it says there's transportation via Palm Tran that deals with senior services. In a farm worker career development program, we have transportation to medical and social service appointments. For human and veteran services, once again, we have transportation. For the community action program, we have transportation, as well as a whole bunch of other services, okay? One of the things though, is that I kind of go and say, what's the so what factor? Right, Palm Beach County is one of the few counties in the United States that has a health and human services element in their comprehensive plan. And it has certain objectives and policies that deal specifically with transportation. You'll see them on the screen right now. So there's one that talks about transportation and the initiatives and the services and things like that, and how we're going to collect and analyze data from different departments. And also the very bottom one, it says policy 2.3B, transportation disadvantaged. Right. So what I'm trying to do is say, there's one thing about physical infrastructure, which is transportation. There's another thing about the social infrastructure and transportation. The two are interrelated. Right. And that's what the health and human services element is doing. You have another an objective that talks about health and community design. And it talks about the non-motorized transportation modes. We talked about different things that both Lou and Ms. Alfonso were talking about. And then there's some additional policies here and objectives that talk about everything from pedestrians and bicycle linkages and things that, once again, that you mentioned earlier, right? And we're supposed to be doing this coordination and collaboration with the other entities involved. And then we have a different document. I can hold these up, but there's 3 different documents that I've been seriously involved with. One is called, the first one was called the Health and Human Services Report of Health and Human Services in Palm Beach County based upon community indicators. That has a transportation indicator in it. There's another one that says a report of health and human services in Palm Beach County based upon key community indicators. That one has another transportation element in it. And then the last one we're looking at is one calling Securing Our Future, an initiative to increase economic mobility and reduce poverty in Palm Beach County. And that has such a direct link about transportation disadvantaged, and where they are in Palm Beach County and what type of collaboration, coordination we're taking place. We actually indicate in this report that if you don't have good transportation, you're not going to move up the economic ladder. All right. We'll go to the next one. So that's what this one says. It talks about the partnership that we have with you as far as connecting transit stops and major corridors, ADA compliance, things like that. This other one that I talked about the socio-demographic barriers, the economic mobility report. It talks about the elderly, the poverty. We indicate where the public transportation areas are, high public transportation areas are, the concentration of younger, and the concentration of older individuals. And that all relates once again to the Community Services Department, services that we provide on a countywide basis. This one we already talked about Palm Tran and door-to-door public transportation services, some of the fun facts. And we also have something called the system of care. So here are these different entities that we are working with to increase or improve ridership, once again, for transportation disadvantaged. So we talk about everything from Palm Tran to Bowling Center, Seagull Industry, all these different individuals, our collaborative efforts. One thing need to make sure that everybody understands is that these documents would not be possible without the great assistance of people like Lou and others within Palm Tran, like Mr. Forbes and stuff like that, because they have helped write some of those important features in these documents. And that's what I get to work with on a day-to-day basis. So when I come here at different meetings, I kind of know everything what's going on in our department. Then I try to relate it to what is going on in your department. And then how can we also get the biggest bang for our buck for the services that we're going to be providing? And also on this committee, there are 2 or 3 Citizen Advisory Committee members on Health and Human Services. And I'm not sure if they're listening right now, but they're obviously a very important hub to making sure that TD individuals are receiving their services. And so once again, that's partnerships with everybody from Ms. Kramer to Dr. Ramon is on the phone, or I hope. And so that they should be knowing as decision makers what's happening with community services, what type of funding we're allocating through the financially assisted agencies, what type of services are being provided, and what is the actual purpose of us being here today. What else? Well, I want to say that's it in a nutshell. I think I only had 3.2 minutes to do the presentation. I want to make sure that everybody, yes, also that we talked about accessibility that Lou and everybody else has talked about. We talked about the service areas, the needs. I guess that's going to be it for right now. Any questions? And if anybody doesn't like the presentation, they can come see me. No. Okay.
Thank you, David.
Done. Okay. Next thing on the agenda, and first of all, any questions from the public or board members?
No questions from the public, Vice Chair, and I don't see any hands raised for the members. So I don't think any member comments.
Okay. So we'll come down to partner agency updates. Are there any updates from our partner agencies?
I have no one on the phone from partner agencies for updates, Mr. Chair, so you can move forward.
Okay. So what I should have done earlier is announce that September 30th is my last day of employment with Palm Beach County. So this is probably the last time that you will physically see me in this position. I'm sorry. It's been a wonderful time here. I've enjoyed everything with you guys. I mentioned earlier, this is one of the best organizations I've worked with, and I feel really proud to be with you guys. And keep on doing what you're doing because you make a serious difference in everybody's lives. Thank you.
I just want to say that thank you, David. We really appreciate all the work and service that you've put into this.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, administrative items. Fiscal year 2022, the LCB calendar. Do we have any member comments or questions? Do we need a motion to approve?
No,
Nope.
Mr. Chair, it's just an administrative item.
Okay. Our next meeting is November 17th, and we would like to invite any additional board member comments at this time. I guess we need a roll call for the member comments.
Mr. Chair, in the essence of time, I will just allow any members that would like to make a comment to go ahead and either raise their hand or unmute their microphone. Otherwise, you can move forward to the next item.
I'm fine.
I'm sorry, this is Lou Fair. I just wanted to say one thing because David's been on the board probably longer than anyone else. And I just wanted to say thank you for all of your help all these years. I mean, I've been with the county for 19 and almost 20 years. So I think we've worked together all that time. And the best thing about you is you've always been active and you've actually participated. So a lot of people, this is only a quarterly meeting and sometimes it's hard for people even just to participate. And he's always been a participant. So I really want to thank you for that. Thank you for your input. Thank you for helping us all here. And you know, maybe you can come back as another but no, really, we really appreciate your time and the effort you've put in here. It's always been valuable. So thank you.
Once again, I want to say that you guys are extremely valuable to Palm Beach County, and I'm so happy I could be a part of it for whatever number of years I've been here. But you guys, like I said, you make a serious difference. I mean, until people are, I want to say, classified as transportation disadvantaged or have to use some type of transportation, they don't realize the seriousness and what difference takes place here. And some of the decisions are made today or how it goes higher up. And even things that Mr. Baker was mentioned before. I mean, it's serious stuff. It's very serious. And thank you. Okay. All right. The next last thing under 4C is adjournment. I'm not sure if we really need to have a motion, but if not, okay. I hereby announce this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.